From the County Seat Sports Grill in downtown Lillington, this is Camel Call Live. Thank you to Camel Nation for being here once again with us live. Thank you for listening live online on the Varsity Network Sports app and at GoCamels.com. I'm Chris Ameyer, and we've got a great show tonight. Joining me in the second half hour will be the head coach of our women's soccer team. Jeff Gross, in his first year, has been sensational. This is a women's soccer team that is unbeaten in the entire month of September. 5 wins, a tie. Rival High Point comes into the Creek this Wednesday at 7 p.m. But we will kick off this show with our football team finally back home. It has been exactly 1 month since we saw Campbell win the home opener over the Citadel. Nationally ranked NC Central makes the short trip from Durham. Central's 4-0 on the season. And joining me to talk about it, he is our head coach, former Carolina Panther Mike Minner, and making his Camel Call Live debut, associate head coach, linebackers coach, and recruiting coordinator Braxton Harris. We have a lot of football to talk about, but first, gentlemen, as you know, I have two 13-month-old boys. They are twins. And after being with them for a year, changed my life, greatest thing that's ever happened. Both you guys have 4 kids. Each. You each have 4 kids. So my question will be, how in the world does that work? 4 kids. Well, I've got 2. It's a lot.
Well, Chris, I'm on the back end, right? So I'm done. All my kids are grown, and Braxton is in inning number 1.
Feels like it. Maybe halfway through.
Well, I will say, guys, you will survive, hopefully. So it's, you know what? Here's the crazy thing, though. You didn't say this. All of us got twins.
That's right.
That's true.
That's right.
That's right.
My goodness.
Yes.
All of us do have twins. All right, so I've made it through 13 months of twins. You've made it through almost 20 years of twins.
Yes.
You're not quite that. So what do I have
years.
to
7 years. We're just trying to make it.
What do I have to know moving forward here? One of them took their first steps last night, and I know that's a game changer because they crawl right now, and I find myself saying, "Where's the other one?" Way too much.
Survive. Just wake up and live today to fight tomorrow, you know, or fight today to live tomorrow. One of the two.
Yeah, something like that.
That's right.
All right, this is a football show, and so we will talk to both Braxton and Coach Minner. A lot of football to talk about, but first off, I want to know from both you guys. Last week you didn't have a game, but you practiced a whole heck of a lot. What did you accomplish on the field last week?
Well, last week was really about training camp, going back to the basics, getting guys to compete against each other. So because we wasn't going to have a game, we had to get that competitive juice going. And so we went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, full pads, 2 hours long, ones against ones, twos against twos. And we got about 110 plays in for each practice, right? So, again, it was really training camp mode. Coach was not here. He was on the road recruiting and, doing a great job there. So it was kind of, us that stayed, which was the head coach and the coordinators, and everybody else went on the road to recruit. And so we was kind of knocking out 2 things at once.
Coach, you not only were recruiting, you went literally as far as you can go in the United States to recruit. You were in California. Now let's be honest, this is the 15th year of Campbell football. 5 years ago, we were not recruiting California. A couple years ago, we weren't recruiting California. We'll talk about this number 1 recruiting class coming up, the number 1 recruiting class that has been. But recruiting in California, what were you doing out there, and who are you looking for?
Well, currently we've got 8 kids that are committed to us out there.
8 kids from California.
8 3-star kids from California.
8 3-star kids from California.
And so,
wow.
That's what kind of Coach Minner came in, and he said find a way and be creative. And so he's given us the freedom and the liberties to be able to go and span the entire country to be able to find those kids. And then we've been able to go do that. Kind of building off what we did last year, all those kids kind of knew who we were. Got national exposure with different articles and different publications that came out. People started to understand what Campbell football was. And so it attracted those kids to us in that spot. And so it was a great opportunity for us to get out into the Los Angeles area. Got a couple connections out there that have kind of put us in contact with those kids and gave us a chance to be able to go and show them It's not just a phone call, not just a FaceTime, but we're investing the most precious thing we have, and that's time, into them.
You are getting into a lot more doors because of the hard work you did last year. I mean, when you're in ESPN and on ESPN and on the website about the #1 recruiting class in all of FCS, but you still have to get these guys who are in Los Angeles, about as far away, both figuratively and literally, as you can be from Bowie's Creek, to come here in Bowie's Creek. So when you get in that door, what are you telling these future student athletes?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things is that you got to be. We're so fortunate to have Coach Minter as our head football coach. We go out there and there's a guy that's a high school head coach that played against Coach Minter in the league, and so the name recognition is always there, and that's a huge game changer because it automatically allows people to understand who Coach Minter is, and if they know Coach Minter, they know our program, and they feel comfortable with that. The way in which he played the game, everybody speaks highly of him. I talked to a guy that he played tight end, and he went against Coach Minter, and he's like, man, that dude would hit. And I said, that's it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that can run and hit, and his kid was the safety in that spot. And so, that's the #1 thing in that spot. The second thing is it's totally different. The location is different. The scenery is different. Those kids are looking for a different experience than what they've known their whole lives in Los Angeles. Some are in the city, so it's a concrete jungle, and then some are in the desert out there where anything looks better than the desert.
Yeah.
They're going to come out of the clouds when they fly in and see green, and there'll be no dirt. It'll be covered in grass, and we talked about taking them to the river and being able to see that. They talked about kayaking and fishing, and they never gotten to experience those things. And so a lot of things we take for granted is just it's the normal for this area. For some kids in certain areas, that's not normal. And so that's a new experience, an exciting experience, and be able to come play for a program that they know is rising.
If you have never heard Coach Harris talk before, answer questions before, he was a former head coach, and you can see that coming out. And Coach Minter, I know when you hired him, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, well, how's this guy from Texas? You were so excited to have another head coach basically on the staff. Talk about getting him, keeping him, and what Coach Harris has done for this program.
Well, again, when you can get guys on your staff and they have done what you're doing, you're going to get better, right? He understands the seat that I sat in as a head coach. He understands the decisions I got to make. And so he brings that to the table. So now all of a sudden he's not worried about the whole program. He's only now worried about one side of the program and then one group of the program, right? And one piece of the program, which is recruiting. And so you get a guy like that, man, it's like stealing, It's unbelievable that one, he was able to leave to come here. He came here because of Coach Glosser, who was our DC last year.
Yep.
And they was good friends, and he was looking to grow, right? He was looking to get a better opportunity. And, I'm humbled every time that I think about guys choosing to come work with me to try to build this program. It's just a humbling experience. And so, once he got here, it was, let's build this program, Coach. You've done it as a head coach. So now I want you to be the recruiting coordinator, and then I want you to coordinate all these thoughts that everybody have about going out and getting these recruits. And that's tough because it's like herding cats, right? You're trying to get everybody on the same page, and everybody think they got the greatest player, right? So you got to get some structure around that, and I knew that Coach Harris would be the one that can bring that, which is why, he's associate head coach. Again, he's done this before, and I bounce a lot of things off of him. As I'm thinking about the program and where we're going, I'm always bringing him into the office. Hey, Coach, what you think about this? What you think about that message? Did you think it hit home? So on and so forth. And so it's always good to have another head coach in the building. Coach
Harris, you came into a program that, and to be fair, it was just a couple years into scholarship football, so they didn't have a lot of scholarships to recruit with. So they hadn't been in the top 50 in the country in recruiting. Again, there's a lot of reasons for that because they were fledgling. How did you take this Campbell program and make it #1 in the country, beating out a lot of FBS schools, if you take me back a year from where you were putting together this #1 recruiting class?
Well, I think it starts with Coach Minter's vision. I mean, when he and I started talking about the recruiting coordinator job, I kind of asked him what his vision for what it was, and he knew it right then and there. I want to be number one. I want to get the best athletes that
and you
can.
still called him back and took the job.
Well, I was already here at that time, so he already had me at that point.
I thought.
He had me in at that time. The moving truck had come, so we were invested at that point in time. But, that was his vision. And so anytime I think people underestimate that. If you don't have that high vision, you don't get there, and some people are afraid to have that high vision, and they're afraid to say those things. Coach Minter's not, and he knows what he wants, and he gave us that vision piece of it. The second thing is it's a staff. It's a whole staff. Don't kid this and joke this that it's just me in this place. We have an entire staff, including Coach Minter, that is involved in the recruiting process, that puts all these pieces together, that works really hard to be able to connect with these kids, to be able to connect with their parents. We're bringing them in a couple weeks. There's a lot of moving pieces from our support staff to our full-time staff to quality control. Everybody's got a role in that. And so, like Coach Mint said, my job is just to try to herd the cats and get them all in the right room. I'm by no means the talent in the room. I'm just the ones that keep it all together.
When you recruit, you told us what you were able to talk about people that grow up in sort of the concrete jungles and that. But everybody else around the nation, when you're making your, I don't want to say generic, but your pitch to come here at Campbell, what are you telling them?
I think it's about the people. You come to Campbell, and that's the first thing. And that's easy for me, Chris, because my family saw that firsthand being here. And I think it always helps to have someone new come in to see a different perspective of that. Is that it's the people. You got people here across this campus, whether it's across campus, whether it's in academic support, whether it's in everywhere, that they're going to care about you. At the end of the day, we're asking moms and dads to send us their most prized possession that they have, and that's their young man. And so what better sell, if you will, whatever promise that you can give is we're going to take care of him, and we're going to invest in him as a man. And that's what Coach Minter's in charged us to be able to go do, is unlock their greatness. And that we explain that to them, that it's not just football. Football is a piece of it, but it's kind of like that three-legged stool. If you don't invest in all three of those, your stool's wobbly. We want you to be complete. We want you to be strong. We want you to be sturdy, so that when you leave Campbell, you're better than when you got here.
No doubt. And Coach Minter, you have bouncing off the number one FCS recruiting class in the nation last year. Right now, you guys are lined up to have the number one recruiting class in FCS this year. Pretty darn good.
No, it really is. And I think you start to build a brand of being the best at FCS recruiting. And now, to me, man, it's really about putting wins on the win column, right? So it's one thing to go get the talent. Yes, they're young. I'm talking about this recruiting class that we just got. And we're trying to develop them and get them ready to go. And a lot of those guys are playing for us right now. And so, that's the goal. It's you get the talent in, you develop the talent, and then you win with the talent. And that's the plan.
The talent has been fine-tuned, and a heck of an opponent coming in this Saturday, 6 o'clock. Campbell takes on NC Central. We'll get the scouting report for the Eagles as they come in to take on the Camels. When we come back after the break, you are listening to Camel Call Live from the County Seat Sports Grill in downtown Lillington. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Step into a quality home you'll value for a lifetime. Perfect for your family at every stage. Mattamy Homes focuses on what you value most, with different designs, styles, and finishes crafted to work within your budget. That's why we're ranked first in quality, value, and customer satisfaction. But we don't just build homes. We create communities with instant appeal and enduring value. See what we're building around Raleigh, places you'll be proud to call home. Visit MattamyHomes.com and see for yourself.
Since 2019, the Fighting Camel Club has funded championship-level facility projects such as the Eakes Athletics Complex renovation for Campbell Soccer and a new strength and conditioning space inside Gore Arena. This fall, your Fighting Camel Club donations will fund a new sports medicine facility, a new locker room for women's basketball, and a new digital media lab for athletes to work on their personal brands. Providing championship resources for Campbell student athletes. That's the mission of the Fighting Camel Club. For more information, go to GoCamels.com and click on the Give button.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's Bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's Bo time.
Finally, the Camels come back home this Saturday. It kicks off 3 straight Saturdays. The Camels will be at home, so get ready and get your tickets at gocamels.com. This week, NC Central comes in 6 o'clock. Next week, believe it or not, it's homecoming time already, a 4 o'clock kick against Charleston Southern. And then on the 15th, 1 o'clock, as Robert Morris comes into town. And after these 3 straight home weekends, we only got one more home game this year, only 5 home games, so make sure you get your tickets, and get your tickets now at gocamels.com. He is the linebackers coach, the associate head coach, the recruiting coordinator, father of 4, Braxton Harris. He is here with us, and, of course, the 2-time national champion and Nebraska Hall of Famer Mike Minner joining us here. NC Central, coach, when this game was put on the schedule 4 years ago, okay, maybe a little bit of a tune-up before conference play starts, but these cats are good. They're 4-0. They dropped out of the rankings after drubbing a non-1 FCS team. I don't know why, because they have beaten so far this year New Hampshire at New Hampshire, who was ranked and will be a future CAA opponent, but then also NC A&T picked with you to finish near the top of the Big South Conference. These guys are really, really good. They've won 7 in a row going all the way back to last year.
Well, Chris, what you find is a very talented football team. They long, they athletic, and they can run, and they make plays all over the field. They're not very big as far as the weight is concerned, but these guys fly around, and the quarterback, Mr. Richard, he makes everything happen for this football team. He's probably 80% of their offense, running the ball or throwing the ball. He's very accurate, and man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough outing for our defense, and I told our defense, we got to play better defense coming into this game in order for us to have a chance, and we got to be able to stop number 11, Mr. Richard, and so it's going to be a tough calling for our defense. And then I think offensively, you look at their secondary. Their secondary is very, very talented, so it makes it very difficult on the quarterback. So Hodge is going to have a tough time with those athletes in the secondary back there. And their D-line is very active. Okay, so they 6'3", 6'4", 225, 235. They all look like linebackers, and they just running around making all kind of different type of plays. And so our offensive line has got to be patient. Of course, we got a really big offensive line, and so they're going to try to use their speed to, neutralize our size. And we got to win the line of scrimmage in this football game for us to have a chance to move the football on the offensive side of the ball. And, of course, in the red zone, we got to get better. And we spent a lot of time last week on trying to rectify that situation. And it's really going to come down to red zone play, and it's going to come down to stopping number 11 on their offensive side.
Oh, when you talk about a quarterback and another dual-threat quarterback, how does he compare to our own dual-threat quarterback in Haj Malik?
Well, very similar. He's probably not as quick as Haj, but the kid is 6'3", 220.
Wow.
So he's a big boy.
Yeah.
You're going to have to bring everything when you tackle him. And he's elusive, right? So, that's the thing that we got to keep him in the pocket. Can't let him step up and make those throws that he want to make to number 22 and number 88 and all the receivers that they have. So we got to do a great job of keeping people in front of him and then make them throw from the pocket, and that's really what we're gonna try to get done there. And but he's the heart and soul of their team, just like number 6, Haj Malik Williams is for us.
No doubt, no doubt. Coach Harris, of course, one of the many things you do is coach the linebackers. What's your scouting report on this very good NC Central team?
Yeah, anytime you get a quarterback that can change the game with his legs and his arm, that puts a lot of stress, and it puts a lot of stress on our linebackers in that middle because they got to live in two worlds. They got to live in two worlds, and they got to be good in both. Obviously, we got to stop the run with those guys. That's primary. We've got to be able to do that. But then when he breaks contain, those guys got to have good eyes to be able to get back to him. It's really easy in games to be able to work and not have to worry about that piece. But when you got a quarterback like number 11, that's got to be the primary focus, and we got to understand that. And that's one of the things I think we've gotten better at as a holistic staff is understanding what matters to stop this team and being able to go grow and be able to understand that piece. That's what we talked about today was how are we going to be able to protect our defensive line and our secondary so they don't have to make those plays. They don't have to come off of routes when a scramble comes because linebackers are there to be able to vice him together, because that's when you get in tough spots, when they don't see a presence in front of him when he breaks. And now you have to come off of coverage to get a quarterback, and then that puts you in a tough spot. And so we got to do a really good job of being able to stop what they do best, not stop everything, but stop what they do best and take that away, make them go to their B and C option, and then play football from that place.
Tell me about your linebacker group, of course, highlighted by C.J. Tillman, a freshman All-American, veteran, Moncovia, Gaffney, just a couple of incredible players to have back there.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to coach. They're playing faster and physical. One of the things Coach Mint came to us after last season is we got to focus on what matters. And for our room, it's fast and physical, and that's all that matters in that spot. As coaches in my past, I've kind of gotten bogged down sometimes with details and schemes of the X's and O's, and at the end of the day, great linebackers play fast and physical. And that's one of the things that I've grown, like Coach Mint kind of mentioned earlier. Why did you come here? I came here to grow, and that's a piece that he's really helped me understand is that my job is to get him to play fast and physical. Don't take the hesitation of not knowing or not being perfect away and let them go play fast. And I think that's what you're starting to see out of those guys. I think their best footballs in the next 8 weeks. Yeah. I think that group's going to really take off. And because I've seen them prepare, I've seen them invest the time in that spot. And they're a lot of fun to coach. You got Keyshawn Thompson, who's doing a great job in that spot as well. A transfer, Kadeem Leonard came from UCF that's going to continue to grow. We got a lot of reps against ECU that live game reps are just invaluable in those spots, especially for a linebacker to be able to play in that spot.
Coach, your two starting linebackers were banged up in a big way. You couldn't use them as many snaps as you wanted to against a very good ECU team. How is the health of both CJ and Moncovia?
Boy, I tell you what, the bye week came at the right time for us.
I was going to say.
It came at the right time. I think they got physical rest and they got mental rest because Coach Harris was in California, so they got to get away from me a little bit. So that probably helped them a little bit too, physical and mental right there. So it came at a great time for our room, that's for sure.
That's great. That's great. Coach, this game will be you have another non-conference game, a couple more coming up, but this is your last tune-up before you hit consecutive conference games. What's the attitude of this game, and what are you really looking to do in addition to get a W up there on the scoreboard on Saturday?
Well, we really looking, Chris, to play tough and smart. We got to put that game together. We have to put 60 minutes of smart football on tape, so that's what I'm looking forward to. We got to start fast. When you look at Central, they've started fast every game. They jump out on every opponent they have faced up to this point, and I believe it's the biggest reason why they 4-0, because they jump out early and they have fast starts and they create turnovers and they block punts and things of this nature that gets them up 17-21, and then they play from that lead all game long, and then that defense can do what it does, come after you, create havoc, and that's how they've been winning. So we must come out and match that intensity from the start, and so that's one of the things that I'm gonna be looking for is that our guys come out and make sure that we do what we need to do from the start of the game.
A heck of a game indeed. As we talked about, this is a team that whipped up on a couple of good opponents. They beat NCA&T by 15. That was at Bank of America Stadium to open the season. They crushed nationally ranked New Hampshire at New Hampshire by 18 points, a team that was ranked in the top 27 in a row going back to last year. It's going to be fun this Saturday. I'll cut this part out on the podcast because we're trying to sell tickets. But if there's a tropical storm over your head on Saturday, when you look ahead at the weather and see, okay, I don't know how much it's going to rain. It's probably going to rain doing it. Or does that change preparation? Does that change game planning? What does that change when possible rain could be coming down?
Well, it definitely changes preparation and game plan because now it becomes mostly a running game.
Yeah.
And who's going to run the ball the best, okay? With them, it's going to be number 11. He's going to run the ball. So
yeah.
6'3", 220, he's going to be their tailback, and he's going to have their running back leading him with the offensive line pulling, and now it's going to be downhill with him. And with us, we're going to get behind, 3,000 pounds of offensive line.
Yeah.
And let's see what we can do with that. So I think that's the type of game that you will see. You will see, a game that you rarely going to throw the football. It's going to come down to discipline. It's going to come down to turnovers because now you got to hold that football. People going to be coming and try to take it away. And it's going to come down who can run the football the best.
Coach Harris, does rain affect the defensive side things as well, or does it just, the offense might do something different?
Yeah, I think you got to be aware of what they can and can't do. I think it doesn't affect our mindset of what our task is to go do. It's we got to stop the run and we got to stop number 11. Those are one and the same this week. And so probably this week it probably doesn't change it as much because we understand the focal point. The focal point just may do something a little bit more concentrated run than it would be scrambling in some of those spots, and we got to be aware of that in that spot. But at the end of the day, it comes down to us doing our jobs at a high level and us playing fast and physical. If you do that, it doesn't matter if he scrambles or if it's called runs, we're going to be okay in those spots.
And that's coming up this Saturday at 6 o'clock. And now that we have you here, Braxton, I'm gonna talk a little bit more with you. We're gonna talk about Coach Minner, as we say, two-time national champions, University at Nebraska, the highest point in FBS in the 90s that you can get. You took a very different route to get here. You were a D3 quarterback and then did a lot of coaching, assistant coaching, then head coaching through the D3 ranks. You also were high school a football assistant coach in Texas, which is kind of like being an FCS coach, depending on where you were. I know you were in Waco. You have such a fond place in your heart for D3, which really made you into this man and this coach you are. Tell us a little bit about that. Something that we kind of know about being an FCS non-scholarship program, right. but D3 football.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I played for a guy, Coach Pete Fredenberg at the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor, who's a 3-time national champion there. I didn't know it at the time as you're going through it, but I got to learn from a Hall of Famer, in that spot. And I learned so much from Coach Fredenberg after I left because I saw, well, that's why he did that, because that makes sense why he did that in that spot. And so for me, I got a chance to learn what it looks like to do things the right way and be attention to detail at a very young age, a teaching progression at a very young age. And at the smaller schools, you get a lot more responsibility early. I was 22 years old and running my own room, doing the laundry and doing a weight workout.
Wow.
And so you had to wear those multiple hats. What it helped me with was when I became a head coach, I knew what all those things were to look like because I'd done those pieces of the puzzle, The attraction for me was I'd kind of done the dirty work in some of those spots. I wanted to come and be able to work for Coach Minner to see a bigger picture, not just putting holes, gaps in a hole, if you will, but to be able to see what you have when you have resources and you have the things that you need to be able to go run a program at the absolute best, not the best that you can, but the best, period. But the level of football that we were able to play there in Texas in that Division III league, it was a great football league. You had to scheme people up. You had to use your imagination. You had to be ready every week, had a solid plan. It taught me a lot of those things in that spot. And a lot of people, they always ask me, why Division III? And, we had kids that they wouldn't have gone to college if it wasn't for football. I had a kid that was from Jefferson, Texas, and he lost both his parents early, and he went to school because he played football. He got a degree, he was working for corporate JCPenney's in downtown Dallas, and he bought a new truck, and he texted me a picture when he bought his new truck. He said, "Coach, I never thought I'd buy a brand new truck."
Wow.
And so you say, why do you do what you do? Because you're making an impact on kids' lives and through the game of football. And that's what Coach Minter's same goal here at Campbell, and that was what the attraction was for me. Coach Glosser was here before, and he told me those things on the inside. I kind of had an insider on that piece, and so he told me, he goes, "Coach, you and Coach Minter's vision for how you take care of kids are one and the same." And so for me, that was a no-brainer to be able to come and do that piece.
And Coach Harris, you also, of course, grew up in it, but were an assistant coach at a high school in Waco as well. We all are football fans. We've seen Friday Night Lights. We've done it. How real to the hype is? How big is high school football in the state of Texas?
Well, it's a lot better south of the river than it is north of the river.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, we've got a Texas and an Oklahoma guy sitting up, so you can't see, but Mike Minter gave a big thumbs down. I'll talk about Oklahoma football next. All right.
So no, it's a great deal. You know, I was in a small town, and my small town this past week played the rival small town. Well, man, I kept up with the score, you know, when I was 1,200 miles away, you know, and it's just that neat thing where you build community and people care about each other, and football brings people together, and that's the best part of it, is the people you get to be a part of.
All right, now 1 minute for the rebuttal. Oklahoma
it won't
football.
It won't take that long.
Coach Minter, how does it compare?
Compare? What are we comparing here? It is all Oklahoma football. We know this, right? Texas, they talk a lot. Okay, we the big brother, and Texas is the little brother. And so that's how we do it. The Red River Showdown.
Now, Coach Harris, were you born in Texas?
Absolutely.
Born in State?
Absolutely. Come on now.
You were the most. This is going to upset a lot of my friends right there. You're the most normal person I've ever met from the state of Texas. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that. Usually, I can tell when somebody's from Texas. And finally, you, Coach Harris, much like Coach Minter have come into this community, and you really have taken ownership of it, and you have become a big part of this community. I see it at so many events, you know, whether it's a soccer game or that. You have 4 kids, and maybe it's a way to just get them in a house, but talk about how much you've embraced this community and they've embraced you.
Hey, it's cheap entertainment. You got 4 kids. Come on now. You know, it's cheap entertainment. You know, this community just fits our family really well. Jennifer's my wife is the one that makes it go. She's involved and she's always around. Coach Minter's great to me and our family because he lets them be around the building all the time. That was another big plus for us and our family. But, you know, we've been very fortunate here. I told you, what's your recruiting spiel when you tell kids? It's the people, and that's the same, and I can speak to that truth because my family experienced that when we came here in that spot. And so being able to be a part of this community and be invested in this community, you know, for us, that's the calling that we have upon our lives, is to be invested where you're at. And Coach Minter talks to us all the time, be present where you're at. And I think that's overall, it's not just a football saying, it's an overall lifestyle that you got to be invested in where you're at. And we're very fortunate and very excited to be able to do that here.
And I know you have a great friendship and a little bit of a rivalry with our head baseball coach, Justin Hare, who has not been on the show yet. So you've got one more thing to kind of wave on his face. How did you guys get to be best buddies?
Well, I coached Justin's kids in baseball. How about that? Football coach,
no
coach in baseball.
Yeah. No pressure at all, right?
Absolutely. And so first year here, his kids were on the same kid as my baseball team as mine, and the rest is history.
All right. Well, finally, back home, Campbell football, 3 straight Saturdays, and it starts October 1st. This is an NC Central team. Look, they may not in some polls have the number by their name, but this is a top 25 football team that Campbell will play. 6 o'clock. Get your tickets at gocamels.com or 1-877-GO-HUMPS. We want to see you for all 3 Saturdays. Coach Harris, Coach Minter, thank you very much for being a part of this show. Good luck this weekend, and stay tuned. Coming up after the break, we'll talk to the first-year women's head soccer coach. His ladies are on a roll. Jeff Gross coming up after the break, and we will give out our prizes for the live audience here. It's Camel Call Live from downtown Lillington, the county seat. We'll be back after this.
Since 2019, the Fighting Camel Club has funded more than a half-dozen championship-level facility projects. This fall, your Fighting Camel Club donations will fund several new projects, including a new Gore Arena sports medicine facility, For more information, go to gocamels.com and click the Give button. Thanks for supporting the Fighting Camel Club.
Hi Campbell fans, I'm Christy Yarbrough with RE/MAX United. Thinking about buying or selling or know someone who is? Let me help you make the right moves. It's important to work with the right agent with local knowledge and cutting-edge experience. I can help ease the pains of the buying or selling process by guiding you through the steps. Whether it's connecting you with the right lender, home inspector, handyman for those undone projects, staging and prepping your home for sale, or helping you find the ideal home that fits your family's needs. Visit my website for more information at christy.remaxagent.com. Go Camels!
Planning a tailgate? Then it's bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the jumbo tailgate special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's tailgate special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles tailgate special, and go. It's bow time.
Better ingredients, better pizza, better brace yourself because Papa John's has done it again. Introducing Papa Bowls. No crust, just a whole bunch of those Papa John's toppings you love, baked to piping hot perfection. I'm talking crisp veggies, savory meats, all covered in melty cheese, and those signature sauces. Try flavors like Italian Meats Trio, Chicken Alfredo, and Garden Veggie, or get creative and build your own. Papa John's.
Step into a quality home you'll value for a lifetime, perfect for your family at every stage. Mattamy Homes focuses on what you value most, with different designs, styles, and finishes crafted to work within your budget. That's why we're ranked first in quality, value, and customer satisfaction. But we don't just build homes, we create communities with instant appeal and enduring value. See what we're building around Raleigh, places you'll be proud to call home. Visit mattamyhomes.com and see for yourself.
Well, welcome back to the county seat in downtown Lillington. This is Camel Call Live. We are here every Monday from 6:30 to 7:30. You can also catch us live on gocamels.com and the Varsity Network Sports app, and every Tuesday at noon, a podcast of this live show will air. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, gocamels.com. We're on YouTube as well. This Wednesday, we are excited that our women's soccer team back in the creek. They take on the rival High Point, as this has been quite a month for the Camels. In the month of September, Camels women's soccer has gone 5-0-1, 3 shutouts in the run. No team has scored more than a goal against the Camels in this month. And joining me to talk about his team is the first-year head coach for the Campbell women's soccer team, Jeff Gross. And first of all, Jeff, why has this been such a successful month for your team?
Well, I think a lot of hard work by the group. You know, there's an established culture here of competitiveness, and, you know, there's a lot of history, you know, particularly in the last 2 seasons. So then you come in and you're playing a very good opening schedule of 4 games like you and I have talked about in the past. And, you know, there were a lot of good things going on, even though the record didn't reflect it. And yet the record is a reflection of who you are. So we needed to develop some more consistency in several aspects of who we are. And then I felt like the group really got themselves going on, you know, what they believe their identity is. And then a lot of things we had been working on started coming into focus a bit more. We were more consistent in critical moments or crucial moments. And then we got moving. You know, I still think we have quite a bit of room to grow, but we're in a good place so far.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you talk about that unbelievably tough schedule that was put together for you. It's been the first 2 months of the season, but in August you were taking on a top 25 ACC team in Clemson, followed by an NC State team that you were 30 seconds away from getting a result from, and then at Liberty, a contender in their conference. And you've told me, based on what has happened so far in this first 2 months of the season, you really feel that you and your staff being new, you guys are ahead of schedule a little bit.
Yeah, I think in some ways we are. I feel like the spring helped us, because I was able to talk about some things, implement some things, get some vocabulary working so the players understood more of the concepts as we were going through them. And then, I feel like we got off to a little bit of a slow start, to be fair. I thought the Mercer game, we needed to get the second goal, and I think we would have been in a little better spot.
Yep.
And then the Liberty game was a little frustrating, to be fair. I don't think that 3-0 reflects quite who we were on the day. And then I think the Richmond game was a really good indicator. And then they got rolling. And then, like anything else, it's a grind. And they're working to be better, and sometimes the grind works against you. So we're trying to get them to understand how to show up every single practice and every single game the right way. And they do it really well the majority of the time. So, yeah, we feel like we're in a good place, and we've been somewhat ahead of schedule based on the time frame we've had with them.
Conference season, of course, you guys are already a couple of games in. Coming from UNCG, these teams well in the area, and that yet you're preparing for new conference foes for you each and every week. What has it been like getting into the Big South and getting used to conference play?
Well, I think it's been fun. I mean, you go to Radford, and I'd never been to Radford before that day, so just going to see a new environment was interesting. The players were accustomed to it. When I was at UNCG, we hadn't played Radford in a few years, so to see the version of who they are this time is always interesting. And then we've never played Winthrop, and I know Spencer well, and I know he tries to get a lot out of what he has, and they played pretty well the other night. So that's interesting. And then UNCG and High Point played every year, so I was familiar with High Point, and it's a rivalry for Campbell and High Point, and for me, it's a soccer match, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is a soccer match on Wednesday, and see if we take another step in everything. We're trying to get them to understand what's going to be necessary about 6 weeks from now.
He is Jeff Gross, the first-year head coach. His women's soccer team takes on High Point coming up this Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We will talk more with the coach, but before we go to break, we've got a drawing here. Our shorter Braxton, not the coach, will draw a couple of raffle tickets. Every time you come here to the county seat, you get a ticket to get a great prize. Today we are giving away a 4-pack of football tickets as Campbell takes on NC Central. So for that 4-pack of tickets, it'll be number 625-566. 625-566. We have a winner. And one more ticket for the autographed Mike Minter jersey, as we will have one more coming up here. As Braxton makes his way up to it. Thank you, sir. 625-568. 625-568 for the autographed jersey. All right, more with Campbell head coach Jeff Gross coming up after the break. This is Camel Call Live.
Step into a quality home you'll value for a lifetime. Perfect for your family at every stage. Mattamy Homes focuses on what you value most, with different designs, styles, and finishes crafted to work within your budget. That's why we're ranked first in quality, value, and customer satisfaction. But we don't just build homes. We create communities with instant appeal and enduring value. See what we're building around Raleigh, places you'll be proud to call home. Visit MattamyHomes.com and see for yourself.
Since 2019, the Fighting Camel Club has funded championship-level facility projects such as the Eakes Athletics Complex renovation for Campbell Soccer and a new strength and conditioning space inside Gore Arena. This fall, your Fighting Camel Club donations will fund a new sports medicine facility, a new locker room for women's basketball, and a new digital media lab for athletes to work on their personal brands. Providing championship resources for Campbell student athletes. That's the mission of the Fighting Camel Club. For more information, go to GoCamels.com and click on the Give button.
Planning a tailgate? Then it's Bow time. Bojangles has everything you need for the perfect tailgate, no matter how many fans you're trying to feed. There's the original tailgate, the super tailgate, and for a really big crowd, the Jumbo Tailgate Special. And if you like your chicken off the bone, choose the Supreme's Tailgate Special that includes 12 perfectly seasoned tenderloin fillets. So grab the tickets, get that Bojangles Tailgate Special, and go! It's Bow time.
Welcome back to Camel Call Live from downtown Lillington. We're at the county seat. We're here every Monday from 6:30 to 7:30. And Jeff Gross, the first-year head coach for Campbell women's soccer, has joined us here. And just 4 home matches left. One of the bigger ones this Wednesday, 7 p.m. versus High Point. Then 2 Fridays from now, homecoming weekend. We will kick off the homecoming festivities with the 7 p.m. match next Friday. And then final home games on October 15th and October 26th. And Jeff, we talk about it a lot. You guys literally get to campus a week later, you're playing exhibition games. A week and a half later, you're playing games that count in the standings. And then all of a sudden, you take a breath and you look, and you've just got 7 more games left on the season. They're all conference games. They're going to be tough, but it's really a sprint for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. And you're right. Like they get on campus and then you got to turn around and you're playing. So you're doing a lot of learning from the games themselves. And, preseason is X amount of days. But, most of us that are in this line of work, we realize that 4 or 5 games in is when you're really going to start seeing sort of who you are and what you're about. And then as soon as you start getting into rhythm, then you're starting to think about how to peak, right? So it's a little unfair to the players. Well, it's more than unfair to the players. Last time we talked, you and I talked about how there's a national movement to stretch the season out a bit, which is only fair to the players. It's only, and it will minimize traumatic injuries, and it'll give us more time to teach properly. So I hope that comes off. But yeah, we're excited about what's coming up. And, homecoming weekend in particular, this is the 30th year of, Campbell women's soccer. And we have a number of alumni who are coming, including a number of people from the first team in '92. So we're looking forward to getting alumni here and then, enjoying the game and celebrating the alumni and celebrating our seniors. That's senior night as well. So we're looking forward to all that. And then I'm looking forward to getting to a football game the next day and supporting Coach Minter and Coach Braxton.
Yeah, you get done with your business and at least can take a little bit of a breath and watch a sporting event. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. You guys have a really neat campaign going on to celebrate what is the 30th anniversary of Campbell's women's soccer. Just incredible. It's going into its 4th decade now, but 30 days, 30K for the 30th anniversary of Campbell soccer. Really a fun thing to kind of get going here in your first year.
Yeah, and really just to celebrate 30 years of women's soccer at Campbell, for me, is the big deal. And you get the women that came before these women, and they all get to celebrate each other a bit. I think that's the coolest part. And then, hearing stories and understanding the history of this place from a women's soccer perspective is very cool. And then, if we raise some money while we're doing that, that's fine. Yep. That's fine, and that's good, and it helps the players that are currently here. And we go from there. But I just think it's awesome that we get to celebrate 30 years of women's sports or women's soccer here at Campbell.
And celebrating 50 years of Title IX. I know this is something that we talked back in the summer, very personal for you. Not only are you the head coach of a women's Division One program, but kind of with your mom and how powerful of a figure she is in your life. It's very special that we're celebrating this celebration of women's athletics.
Yeah, and you kind of wish you didn't have to celebrate 50 years
nope,
of it. You wish
right.
It was better well before that, but we're in a better place as it relates to women in sports in general, women in general. I still think we have room to grow. Obviously, as a country, we've taken a step backwards in some ways and some of that stuff, but overall, you love the fact that, these women get to compete at such a high level. They get to challenge themselves as a human being. They get to grow at a wonderful university. All that stuff is very important to me. And soccer is the way to help them grow. It's not the thing I focus on the most. I mean, the competition is enjoyable, right? And it's what you try to show up for them for, but it's really about seeing them grow as people. And that part I really enjoy the most.
And you aren't just saying stuff because you're here on Camel Call Live. If you go to your bio on gocamels.com, at the top in bold, you have human first, athlete next, care for the human, challenge the athlete. So profound. And why is that your mantra, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this in a podcast, and I in some ways, I think the way I'm trying to coach is the way I would have liked to have been coached, right? Look after me as a human first and then challenge me as an athlete. And I try to do that with our players. I think they recognize how much I care about them individually, which then allows you to challenge them in many different ways. And we're doing that right now. I'm challenging them to raise their level so we can peak here towards the end. And I think I can challenge them because of how much, I've shown that I care about them, and vice versa. They very much care about us as humans, the coaching staff. So I think it's reciprocal, isn't it? And when you give it out, you usually get it back tenfold. So, yeah, really important to me that you try to look after people and try to take care of them and try to help them grow into a better version of themselves. And then part of that is to watch them play a sport that they enjoy and then challenge them to be as good as they're capable of being.
Yeah, it's interesting, those that think coaching at this level is just a bunch of watching film and X's and O's, isn't it?
Yeah, it's far from that, I think. We do watch film, and it is about X's and O's, but it's really about trying to help people get the best out of themselves. And, if they understand that that's what you're in it for, then they generally do try to get the best out of themselves. And then you see this growth. And, the number of women or young men that I've coached too that, have come back to me and called me and said, man, I'm just a better person because of that experience. That makes it all worth it. Right. So I love this group quite a bit. And, I'm looking forward to seeing them when they all move on in life as well. And just because I know they're going to do well. And we just happen to be one part of it along the way.
This group that you love so much, of course, going through in undefeated September, and you mentioned the fact that you really can't tell about the team 4 or 5 games in. That was when you guys came into September, and now trying to get them to peak at the right time as you go through this gauntlet of the Big South Conference. What are a couple of things or the big thing that you would like to see your team improve on to get to that peak?
Yeah, the run from Richmond, Coastal, Wofford, I thought those were 3 90-minute mentality matches. I don't think we did that at Radford. I think we almost did that at Winthrop. We had 2 little stretches where it wasn't complete 90-minute mentality stuff. So going into Wednesday, it's can you complete a 90-minute mentality? And, in one of the interviews I did with Zach, it's, we had a lot of quality in the Wilmington first half, but then we had to fight and hold on through character to win it. And I don't think you can survive on one or the other. You have to do well on both. So, what I'm challenging this group with right now is, your quality and your character have to be combined, and be consistent about that. Because if you do that properly, the first half of Wednesday, and then you answer the call at the beginning of the second half on Wednesday, then you should be building down the stretch as we get closer to the playoffs, and hopefully, we're the 1 seed. You
look like a young man, and I can say that as a guy in our 40s. It has been really an amazing path. You read your bio, you're a guy from up in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and you have coached at all levels, assistant head coach from the pros all the way to youth. You've been successful, of course, everywhere that you has come. So tell me about your journey and how a guy matriculates his way down to the Carolinas and becomes a Division I head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool path that I've taken. You and I have talked about this before. I wasn't sure that I wanted to go into coaching, and then, I got into it, and somebody close to me was really good at it and sort of paid attention to all that. And then I realized I was, being pretty good at it. And then I was like, I'd like this. This is something I think I can pursue, and I've been doing it ever since for 27 years. So, and then when you coach youth soccer at a really high level, you coach high-level travel teams, you learn. Your learning curve gets accelerated quickly if you wanted to. Not everybody does, but I tried to, master as many aspects of coaching as I could, and I think I did a good job of that. And then I had lived in Raleigh about 20 years ago, and I said if I could ever get back to the North Carolina area, I'd want to do it. So when I got the UNCG opportunity, which was a fantastic 8 years, and this was available, then I was like, great, I get to pursue what I really want to pursue at a high level, challenge myself to see how good I am, and then still live in North Carolina. And, I've really enjoyed living in this area. It has everything that I would want. It's a nice community to be in. There's a golf course nearby. I like to ride my mountain bike, as you know. And then I really enjoy the Campbell community. So this has been a good fit, and I'm glad my path took me all the way to here. And I don't think I would do it any other way.
Now that you've been here and are entrenched in the community, like you said, you live 10 minutes now from campus and getting to know the university and this place, what do you like about Campbell?
Wow. So many things. And I'm still learning quite a bit. It's been a whirlwind from, my day one to putting a staff together to getting ready for a season. So I'm still very much learning about the university and the area. But to me, what I noted in my interview process is that it's a growth mindset institution. Like everybody I talked to, everybody I met, you could just see growth mindset thinking about everything. And athletics, I think, definitely has that going on. So I really enjoyed that. And then, similar to UNCG, I don't think I've met a grumpy person that works at this place since I've been here. So that's nice and that's enjoyable. But it also has a pretty leveling energy about it. Everything's pretty level on campus, and I know the students go through these high stress moments, but I think just being on campus and being able to walk through it actually probably levels you out a little bit. And I've enjoyed that about Campbell quite a bit. And then I'm really enjoying getting to know more people in the athletic department and starting to little by little get to meet more people around campus. And again, I haven't met a grumpy person yet, so I enjoy that.
Well, we hope it stays that way. All right, tell me a little bit more about the mountain biking. We were talking the other day, and we were talking about what you were doing after practice or whatever. You said, I'm going to go to Raven Rock State Park and mountain bike. Has that been a big part of your life? And what's it like mountain biking at Raven Rock State Park?
It is a big part of my life. I've been doing it since college, so, 30 years or so. Off and on. I was a little stretch when I lived on Long Island. I didn't do it, but then I got back into it when I moved down here. So it is a big part of my life. I don't get to do it as much as I like to, but there's some really good mountain bike trails in Raven Rock. So there's 3 loops, and one's like a 35-minute ride and up to like an hour and 15 minutes. So it depends on what time you have and what you're trying to do. But I like getting in the woods. It's quiet. It's good exercise. I'm mostly processing things in my brain and getting them out through sweat, and then by the end of the ride, I'm usually back to center and moving forward. So I enjoy my rides. They're a nice piece of my day when I get to do it 2 or 3 days a week.
And finally, Coach, thank you for taking the time to come down here. I know you're getting ready for the big rivalry game against High Point. What must you do in the match? Because I know we talk a lot, and it's about what you guys do in spite of the opponent. What must you do to come out of there with another win?
High Point's actually starting to get they're starting to get it together a little bit.
They had a rocky first part of the season.
Yeah, there's a new coach, and he got hired, like 3 weeks before the season.
Yep.
So, good on him to stick it out and keep moving this along. So they're starting to pick up some form. For us, we need to impose our mentality and the way we want to play the game sooner. And if that doesn't come off, because soccer's not like that, it's not like you can just jump out and get off to a fast start. The opponent does have something to say with what happens in a game. Then we just have to keep staying after who we are. And this group has shown me that their mentality, their fight, their grit is pretty significant. So even if we don't get off to what we would consider a great start, then the fight and the grit is going to have to be greater than theirs. But it is a rivalry game, and it is one that both schools are very passionate about. And you never know in those games. Yeah. So you also have to be able to manage the emotions of it all and put yourself in a position to focus on the actual competition, right? What to do with the ball. And that's what we try to get this group to do, is know what to do with the ball and be confident about it all the time. And when you're not, you at least have to fight. So they do that very well. And I think they're going to be up for it. But again, you and I have talked about this, man. It's a player's game, and the coaches only have so much to say once the game starts.
Oh, so absolutely! It's going to be fun this Wednesday at 7 p.m. versus High Point, and then 2 Fridays from now. Not the last home game of the season, but it is going to be senior night, alumni coming back. What a way to kick off homecoming weekend! The 7 p.m. match into Fridays. Admission is free at the Eakes Athletic Complex. More information at gocamels.com. Jeff, we're glad you're here. Thank you for coming by tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
He is Jeff Gross, the women's coach for the women's soccer team. They are on a roll, undefeated in September, take on High Point at 7. That'll do it for us. We'll talk to you next week from the county seat from downtown Lillington. This has been Camel Call Live.